So we're going to be discussing episode 6 now of Twin Peaks: The Return.
Right, we're on to part 6, which opens really right where part 5 left off.
Yeah, almost to the frame.
Yeah, almost
right.
to
We
the
see
frame.
Dougie looking at the statue of the lawman that's outside of the Lucky 7 Insurance company.
And the cop or security guard or cop or whatever it is, he comes back and he says, "Sir, I've asked you to move along already," and have kind of a poignant scene here. This cop figure is nicely sympathetic to Dougie. Ultimately, I thought.
Yeah, he's the local guard of the business park and might have
Yeah.
seen him around before. Definitely has seen him at least once on his beat tonight.
Right.
Asks him, he's kind of assuming in this situation something's wrong.
Right.
And he asks him, for example, if he's on any kind of meds.
Right, and he ultimately, helps get him home. Right.
Drives him home personally.
Where's home?
He knows it's Lancelot Court with a red door.
Red door, yeah.
And so the red door seems to be Dougie's address.
There is an address on the house.
Yes.
But and of course, also worth noting here is Dougie is fascinated with this cop's badge. Keeps trying to touch his badge. And again, this cop's very nice. I mean, in real life, if you had the situation and you were trying to touch the cop's badge, I mean, I could imagine getting tackled and handcuffed or something, right? But this cop's nice, and he gets Dougie home to Lancelot Court, and Janie, who seems to have forgotten that Dougie doesn't have a car.
Yeah,
until he
she
shows
said
up.
she forgot to pick him up, actually. Yeah.
Which, okay, fair enough. Normally he would have driven himself. But, she says she'll make him a sandwich.
Yeah, she also says, you know what, Dougie, I'm going to take you to the doctor tomorrow, too.
Yeah,
So
finally. Well, I mean, I guess, it's, again, as I was saying when we were talking about part 5, in narrative time, it's only been about a day.
Right.
But still, if your husband was acting like this, would it take this long before you mentioned going to the doctor? I don't know, but this is how it goes.
raises some questions, but she's getting to it. But Janie is definitely handling business.
You have a couple of things, though, along those lines. At one point, I think in the car, when Janie says, "I think you might be having one of your episodes." When the cop brings Dougie home here, he says something about him seeming spaced out or something like that.
Yeah, and then we have Jade mentioning, like, "Hey, Dougie, did you have a stroke or something?" She says something like that.
Well, yeah, but what I'm trying to get at is, what was Dougie like before this? Because even presuming that it's still the same Dougie, you have Janie saying to the cop here, like, "That's on a good day," or something like that.
Yeah.
So what was going on with Dougie before Coop took his place?
Right.
It seems like, okay, well, he didn't exactly entirely have it together. Or maybe he had some kind of episodes already. How out of character is this? Right, I guess is what I'm getting at. We don't entirely know.
Right.
Yeah.
So he does come home with these case files that Bushnell has
Case
given
files.
him. Right.
Yeah.
He has the case files, and they're spread across the table while they're eating sandwiches and chips.
Yeah.
And I love the play of this. This is so simple, and yet works so well. It's just the sound of Dougie biting down on an average potato chip.
Well, and I just love how it seems that they only eat sandwiches.
Yeah.
Right. It's just.
Well, it's kind of in him and his kind of like sophomoric mind, where he's taking things, just simple things,
Yeah.
But just the sound of the chips. There's something about Lynch doing the sound design and really wanting some chips to be in there that I thought was pretty humorous and also worked really well.
Yeah, it did. And
it's
so
one of those things that you don't see in the average thing, because the average sound editor or director is going to be like, no, the chips are going to make a weird noise and we don't want something like that. In this
yeah, and
song.
also we were talking about urination a bit. Eating also is. You often don't see people eating all that much on TV. You might see them go to dinner often, but are they actually eating the food?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So dwelling with the eating of the chips, the crunching and things like that is cool. There's also, we should mention here, there was an envelope outside their door when Dougie got home. Unmarked envelope.
Unmarked envelope. And so there's a point where Janie E is kind of lining up what's going to happen the next day, and she says, why don't you run upstairs and say goodnight to Sonny Jim?
Right.
Which he does. He has a little bit of trouble getting up
I think
the stairs.
he might have gone to the
first.
bathroom first.
Well, I think he's just going the wrong way, and Janie E is saying, no, go up.
I know, but once he gets upstairs, he walks past Sonny Jim's room.
Oh, correct.
And I think he
yes.
might have gone to the bathroom first and then noticed Sonny Jim on his way back.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
So they have this kind of cute scene with Sonny Jim's cowboy lamp he wants to leave on, and the clapper, and all of that. Oh, and he
He's
offers
reading
a
sorry.
chip. And this is something I noticed. Sonny Jim says, I already brushed my teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Made me think of season 2 finale when Cooper, first thing he says basically is, I need to brush my teeth.
Right.
Right.
So, but he still wants to give him the chip. So he sets the chip caringly down carefully on his leg. On his blanket or whatever. A couple other things about the scene that really struck me. First of all, the clapper on the lamp is interesting. So you have this, again, this motif with lights going on and off, or strobing lights. But I think it's something very interesting. Not only is he discovering what's going on in the world around him, but just having this power over electricity, which we know is something that's a theme that runs through all of this. So.
Right, this power by clapping, and he's very amused by this. Mm-hmm. And Sonny keeps saying, Dad, because he wants to sleep with the light on.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, well, common thing, you don't want to be in the darkness. And again, this is one of those, light and dark scenarios. The other thing, there's a couple other details in this room is if you look closely, I noticed it right away because I had this whole series of books when I was a kid, is that Sonny Jim is reading a Hardy Boys book.
Oh, Hardy Boys.
So it's 2 young boys that are basically detectives out there solving crimes
cool.
that are brothers.
Good catch.
The brothers Hardy that are brother detectives.
More brothers,
yes.
Yeah.
And so in that little blue book, it's kind of speaking a lot about that. And then the other thing that was pointed out to me is that it's not the average modern-day kid's room. It's got like the cowboy curtains, and it really does feel like a 50s kid's room. There's some other things sitting around his room, one of which is a Viewmaster, which I know is older from that era and has always been popular the last several years, decades even. But the things that are sitting around his room, it's not like a video game system.
Right, he doesn't have a Wii
poster on the wall
like that. Yeah, that's interesting. But so they get interrupted. Poor Sonny Jim wants Dougie to sit with him until he falls asleep. But Janie's opened the envelope, and she's got some yelling at Dougie to do.
Mm-hmm. So she calls him down. You get down here right now.
Yeah.
He comes downstairs and basically finds she's confronting him with photos of him together with Jade.
Right, and I love his reaction.
His reaction's great.
He's Jade, smiles.
Yeah. And so innocently, the signifier
Jade
is a good thought of having time with Jade, and she says something along the lines of, "Oh, I can't believe you admit it, even." So.
Yeah. So this is, it seems, related to his debt. Now, one thing I want to pull in here is that we were talking before about who's trying to kill Dougie.
Mm-hmm.
It would seem that it is not the people he owes this money to.
Mm-hmm.
They're at the level of, sending pictures of him with another woman to his wife.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Killing him would seem, several steps further down the line, don't you think? So I think it's not these people to whom he owes money who put the hit out on him. That's part of what I was taking from this. Coincidentally, they get a phone call.
They get a phone call right in that moment, and it's the debtors. So one of the things that you learn at this phone call is that it seems like these debtors that they owe money to are going to come find Dougie at work.
Yeah.
Janie E says, "No, don't go to his office. I'll meet you."
Right.
So another example of Janie E stepping up, and she's decided, okay, I'm going to take care of this myself.
Oh yeah, she's a badass. So she arranges to meet them at 12:30.
12:30 the next day.
At the corner of Guinevere and Merlin.
Right, another King Arthur's reference.
Another King Arthur reference. Yeah.
So there have been a few of those
in a park there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. After this, there's a little bit of clarification with Janie and Dougie, where she's kind of saying, well, where is your car and where's your ID, and coming to this understanding like you don't even know where that is.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's one moment actually where at the end of the scene, she leans over and she kisses him. And this also reminded me, it was the same gesture of Laura Palmer in the lodge, leaning over and kissing him.
Yeah, not quite the same way, but definitely a repetition here. Yeah.
Yeah, so any kind of repetitions like that, I mean, now that I'm seeing that there's a number of them, it makes me wonder about the duality of this reality.
Right.
Are we, what type of reality are we in when we're with this character?
Yeah.
And then she says, tomorrow's a big day.
Yeah.
And so is that her referencing something specific or not? Again, along with this kind of like dream logic and duality, tomorrow does turn out to be a big day for Dougie.
Yeah, that's true.
But there's some things that happen that there's no way she would know about. And so when she says tomorrow's a big day, I thought to myself, what do these characters know about that's happening tomorrow?
Yeah. Or is she just referring to her arrangement to meet at 12:30? We don't know.
That could be. Mm-hmm.
We don't know.
So we get a little transition scene after this, which is kind of a famous transition scene, which is a red stoplight swinging in the wind. right?
Yeah, but I thought what was striking here is that the music in the background seems really dark and ominous.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in the original series, as I recall, you usually got the light turning with silence even, right? But here, the background music really gives something of a sense of dread.
So the stoplight itself is not a spatial transition, but one of time, right? So
Yeah.
it's just signifying that the night is past. We come back from that to Dougie's house still.
Right.
And Dougie is in this moment kind of staring into his own home, and you see the furniture there. But then there's this fade where we see the red room and we see Mike.
Right, or Philip Gerard, the
Right.
one-armed man, regardless, one way or the other. He's got some messages for him to wake up, and then he repeats, "Don't die, don't die, don't die."
Correct.
Yeah.
And so that maybe the two are there. Like, in order not to die, you have to wake up or something.
Yeah.
But it leads to the thought, okay, well, he's telling him to wake up. Does that mean that he's sleeping? Is this a dream? That was my first thought with it. You're telling somebody to wake up. Sounds like you're inside their dream telling them to wake up.
Right, or, I mean, something along those lines at least. Of course, Dougie Cooper is not fully Cooper.
Yeah.
So there might be some thought of him being not fully awake or something like that.
Which would, like sleepwalking, where he's walking around,
Right.
he's half sentient, but he's still sleeping. He's asleep.
Yeah, so I think that we don't necessarily have to go all the way to thinking about it being a dream for this to make sense, because Dougie does not seem to be awake, at least not in a full sense.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. But it could be either way. It was one of those things that made me think, okay, now that you've said that,
Yeah.
should I examine that everything we've seen in this Dougie world with Janie E is a dream? And it was just a thought that I came across thinking, okay, so if all of this is he's showing me is a dream, it would explain how certain things are a little bit off in this world and how he is
Yeah.
charmed, and how there's these dualities between the people looking for him, the strange names of his family, the strangeness about his insurance company and finding, fraud, which leads us to this next scene where he's going through the case files, right?
Right, because he's going through the case files, and it seems like some lights start to appear on them, and so on. I tried to watch this really closely to see if I could try to figure out what he is marking. Here's the best I've got. He's consistently making marks next to the name Anthony Sinclair, and this would be the Tony he accused of lying
Correct.
in the office.
Yep.
And then he draws some other things. Sort of pictograms that look like ladder.
Yeah,
I
there's
thought.
some recurring ones. I think that the one or two times it looks like it's a ladder leading to a staircase,
Yeah,
at
ladder
the top of
imagery
which
and
might have
staircase
like
imagery.
a slide or a line dropping from the apex of the staircase all the way back down.
Right, he's drawing these lines, and of course he's holding that pencil like he's a little child.
Yeah, or like it's a knife or something. It's like stabbing. Like he just like urinating. He doesn't know how to hold a pencil or
Right.
to write.
So ladders, stairs. The other thing I connected it to or noticed here is he's marking the names of the detectives involved. So if you think back, Tony was talking about a case that was supposed to be arson in the office.
Right.
So given that he's marking Tony's name on these, and he's marking, very roughly around the names of some detectives, and you can read their names. I think one of them is Loomis or something like that.
Right.
The best I can do is to suggest that maybe he's pointing out some kind of collusion between the insurance agent and these detectives or something. But
That would make sense, yeah.
it's really drawn out, and you don't know what's going on. And, when the first time I was watching it, I recall in these scenes related to the case files just thinking, man, David Lynch really does not care if you understand what's happening.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, again, this is the mystery, but the mystery increases.
Right.
And so I think that's really where we are now. But I thought that was pretty fascinating. This is the work he's doing. This is the homework. And, it's been set up that his job is on the line here. And these are the results that he's going into for all of that.
Right. So, maybe just go ahead and jump forward here, actually, to how this cashes out. he ultimately does take those into his boss the next day, Bushnell, and you have that scene.
Mm-hmm.
And another very protracted scene, but it does seem ultimately that Bushnell Mullins, his boss, makes sense of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have Dougie saying, repeating, makes sense of it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, he's figured something out here. He says, oh, wow, Dougie, this is really disturbing. Keep it between us, and so on and so forth. But again, we don't really know. We're not given any more information about exactly what it is that maybe Dougie has discovered here.
Correct.
Yeah.
But there's a couple things that Bushnell tells him. He says, keep this between us, basically.
Right.
Tells him not to talk about it. Also tells him he might need his help again in the future.
Right.
So we don't know exactly what Bushnell is planning, but considering we've seen him as a young boxer that was possibly a champion.
Right, that poster on the wall.
Yeah, we know that Bushnell's a fighter, at least, right? So this could come down to some confrontation.
And it's another example of Dougie getting this kind of metaphysical assistance, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So good. Then we go to Albert, right?
Right. We see Albert in his car.
Yeah.
It's cold. It's rainy. Yeah. This is another hilarious moment.
Fuck you, Gene Kelly.
Yeah, well, even before he gets out of the car,
right,
he's talking to Gordon Cole on the phone, and Gordon Cole tells him that he's enjoying a nice bottle of Bordeaux.
Right.
And wherever Gordon Cole is, he's somewhere comfortable.
Well, he seems to be with a woman, too, I think. Yeah.
And Albert is not.
Yeah.
So Albert, of course, this is the moment where Cole has told him, do you know where she lives? We're going to have to talk to her. And Albert responds saying, well, I know where she drinks.
Right. So Albert is going to the bar here. And this is the first time we're seeing this since episode 4.
Yes.
Right. So in real time, you had such a long wait here, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly I did.
Mm-hmm.
Watched all 4 episodes on May 21st.
Mm-hmm.
That meant I had to wait 2 weeks for episode 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then another week for episode 6.
Mm-hmm.
So that was 3 weeks for me before I got the confirmation that it was, in fact, Diane.
This is such a cool moment, and it goes along with the lore of all of this so much and so well that I think a lot of fans in that moment probably shouted and screamed, and it was a high-five moment to see Diane, right?
But still, they're still teasing us because the scene is as brief as Albert saying Diane and her turning around and saying, hello, Albert.
Yeah, so we know that she recognizes him. We know that Diane is not just a tape recorder anymore.
And we know she's played by Laura Dern.
We know it's Laura Dern, and we know that she drinks at a place called Max Vaughn's Bar.
Right. The sign is similar to the Bang Bang sign.
Yeah, I think almost every bar we see in Twin Peaks in this universe is a neon sign. And not that there's much to look into it, but it might be a reference to Max von Sydow.
Okay.
Who, as we know, has played some very important epic roles in cinema history even.
Right.
Including in The Seventh Seal as the knight who is challenging death and plays chess, plays a game against him. Right? In order to save his own life.
We have had chess in Twin Peaks before.
Yes.
With the whole Pete, the chess master.
Yes. And so that's quite interesting. Mm-hmm. Just a note.
And apparently we're in Philadelphia here.
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends I was talking to right after this episode aired had a quibble about the fact that Diane is smoking in this bar. But I did look into it, and if they are in Philadelphia, apparently there are a number of bars in Philly where you are still allowed to smoke.
Right, so that's kind of interesting. I remember during our first podcast, you brought up how in the 90s there was a lot of scenes where the characters were smoking.
Right, in the original run, if we're in 1989, right, you could still pretty much smoke everywhere, but now, not so much, right? So if any of you noticed that kind of stuck out, if you were thinking about the plausibility, apparently it is potentially plausible that you could be smoking in a bar in Philly.
Right, and this also kind of brings up a little bit of a walking motif about cigarettes in general that we're going to go through, and there are going to be a few more references coming up.
Tobacco. So we move to the scene with Red and Richard Horn, but the first thing I want to note is as we move into that, the first shot we get is of like a logging yard. Did you notice this?
No, I don't think I did.
They're meeting in a warehouse or something, but outside of that seems to be a bunch of cut wood.
Oh, okay.
And just to track that kind of trope or whatever of the wood. But this scene, we're seeing Red again for the first time really since the end of episode 2. We mentioned it before where he points the gun finger at Shelley, right? But now he talks.
Yeah.
And what did you make of this scene?
This is another one of the scenes that really freaked me out, I got to say. There's a lot that's in this scene that is kind of the dark magic behind a lot of Lynch's work.
Yeah.
We see Red is borderline sorcerer, right, in this scene.
Yeah, and the power dynamic throughout, even before he does the dime trick.
Yeah.
Which is what you're referring to, I take it.
Yep.
Even before that, throughout the whole scene, it's clear that Red is the one who's really holding the power in this situation, which is striking because when we saw Richard in the last episode in that sexual assault scene, he was the one with the power, it seemed, in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
But here, Red is
Red,
intimidating the fuck out of him.
So the scene starts with him, the sound of him sniffing, really.
Yeah.
And we see that he's testing these drugs, which are referred to as Chinese designer drugs.
Right. And maybe this is what Becky was snorting before. Maybe it wasn't cocaine. I don't know what this might be.
But it tells him, it gives him a rush, and it seems like it's unlike anything that is known about. So this seems to be the new drug that's going to be coming across the border.
Yeah, it's a hip new thing.
And so Red says, actually drops a little hint saying, you're going to pick this up at Mary Ann's, which makes Richard say, wait, you know that place? And he asks him if he's a local.
Right, but I don't think he is. It seems like Red has been in town for a short period of time, from what he says.
And I think to get out of answering this, or just because he chooses not to, he shows off some karate move, and then he says, do you ever study your hand?
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, the studying your hand thing, looking at one's own hand, this might be a link to the arm and not having an arm, or something like that.
Regardless, Balthazar Getty's performance here as Red is really striking to me, and he really is intimidating. You know, the whole heads I win, tails you lose.
Yeah. That's great, and that's really spelling out what's going on here. No matter what, Richard, I'm the winner here.
Right.
You know.
He keeps calling Richard...
It's fixed. It's a fixed game, he's basically telling him. You know?
He keeps calling Richard kid.
Yeah, he says, don't call me kid, he says even.
And then he calls him a kid again, the next thing he says. Again, like all the powers with Red. And the threat struck me, right? He says, if you fuck me over, I'm going to saw open your head and eat your brains or something like that.
And you kind of believe that he'll do it.
Yeah, you kind of do believe that.
But there are definitely there's some weird moments too with his health or his embodiment. Like he's stomping his foot and he says he's got a problem with his liver.
Yeah.
So that was a really strange thing that kind of irked me the wrong way. Somehow he's off.
Yeah. And the dime trick, I mean, it's what? He flips it into the air and then it ends up in Richard's mouth. And Richard takes it out of his mouth.
When he flips it into the air, it freezes in midair for a second, still spinning. So it's this implication that there's some kind of like anti-gravity thing going on. But as they're looking up at it, suddenly it appears in Richard's mouth.
He takes it out of his mouth, and then it's in his fingers, and then it's in Red's hand, and it's not in Richard's fingers anymore.
Yeah, and then it falls into Red's hand.
So it's pretty understandable that after this, Richard is a bit freaked out.
Yeah.
And not very happy.
Yeah. Once Red gets the dime back in his hand, he says to him, "This is you." He flips it over onto the back of his other hand, like one does, and he says, "This is me."
Tails.
Heads I win, tails you lose.
Yeah.
So he's saying, kid. Yeah, and he's establishing how much he's in control. He's establishing that the game is fixed and rigged for him. And at the same time, he's doing it right after Richard has taken the hit off of whatever this drug is.
Right.
So we actually don't know. Is this some magic he's performing, or is this hallucination that Richard is witnessing?
Who knows?
This could have been brought on by the drug itself,
Right, but that's basically this scene.
There's also a little segment in there where he references The King and I. So,
have you seen The King and I?
Yeah.
Did you have a thought about that?
I mean, I didn't really at first. I'm just kind of wondering if that might go somewhere. Maybe it's worth mentioning.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure what that's about. Other than The King and I is a reference to a title that's two people, one of which is in authority and power, and one of which is not. Yeah. So
that's about all I've got there as well. So then what happens next is you start getting, well, first of all, we see Carl Rod.
Carl's picked up from his trailer park.
And it would seem that the Fat Trout trailer park, it's kind of a tongue twister. Mm-hmm. It would seem that the Fat Trout trailer park is now outside of Twin Peaks, whereas in Firewalk with Me, it was in Deer Meadow, right?
Right, and do we know for sure that this is Fat Trout, though? I mean, could this be a different trailer park now that he's managing?
There's a sign that says Fat Trout.
Is there? Okay.
I think it says New Fat Trout, actually.
still doesn't answer that question. Yeah,
I was a little confused at first watching this because I was presuming that he was in Deer Meadow, but I think it becomes clear that he's just outside of Twin Peaks or something like that. Because he's riding into town. This guy Mickey runs up and wants to come into town with him to pick up Linda's mail. He says, right?
And he asks about Linda.
Yeah.
And there's something along the lines of saying, she's okay. She finally got her wheelchair.
Right, from the government.
Yep. And Carl Rod says, fuck the war and fuck the government in this statement.
Right, so it kind of sounds like maybe Linda's a veteran. At least that's what I was thinking.
And also, earlier from the very first scene we see with the giant, we've been looking for Richard and Linda.
So we've got a Richard and a Linda.
So at this point, we've got both Richard and Linda.
Of course, we haven't seen Linda yet, and we've seen Richard Horn, but he's only been named in the credits. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. But yeah, Linda is at least mentioned, and we've just seen Richard.
And Mickey, who's catching a ride with Carl Rod into town, has quit smoking recently.
Yeah.
There's a really funny bit here where Carl Rod, Harry Dean Stanton, says something along the lines of, I've been smoking for 75 years.
Every day.
Every fucking day.
Yeah, it's kind of laughs at him.
And you believe him.
Puffs on his cigarette.
Harry Dean Stanton has, actually. So,
yeah, indeed.
Anytime now that I'm seeing a scene where one of the actors is talking about smoking or not smoking, I'm wondering, hey, is this real? That the actor themselves is saying that about their habits.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I thought that was a super funny scene with Harry Dean.
A couple things about Carl Rod. I mean, when they ultimately get into town, we see him sitting with a coffee in the park and looking up at the trees and things like this. It was noteworthy to me that he seems better, happier than in Fire Walk with Me.
Right.
Right? Where my favorite line there was when he says, this is more shit I gotta do now.
Yep.
He seems
also
in
the car
spirits.
though. In the car though, he does seem in better spirits, but he's still practical about his life. In the car,
absolutely.
Mickey kind of says, "What have you been up to?" And he says something along the lines of, at this age, I'm just waiting for the hammer to come crashing down or something, right?
Something like that.
So
but
he's
still,
admitting that he's waiting for his death, but in this somehow, he is more content and he does.
I was thinking
better off.
Along these lines about that. Contrast between Twin Peaks and Deer Meadow. So, of course, he's back in Twin Peaks, and he's also this happier version of Carl Rod. Again, of course, the secret history basically tells us that he was a kid in Twin Peaks, I believe, right?
Yes. And, well, since you mentioned that, there's a couple other things that are significant, is that, like Margaret Lanternman, Carl Rod had an extraterrestrial, possibly interdimensional experience when he was a kid, and was marked with the same mark that the log lady has, that Major Briggs ends up getting in the series.
Right.
And so we know a little bit more about Carl Rod from Secret History. He's another one of these figures that's been around Twin Peaks for a long time.
And it fills in maybe...
And has experienced maybe a little bit more of the supernatural qualities in the woods around there.
Fills in maybe a little bit of what he means when Fire Walk With Me says, I've already been places.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So we've got that, and he's in the park, and then he observes this mother and kid playing a game. I don't know if there's a name for this game.
Well, it's like a staged catch-up tag game, right? Where the little boy runs out, and then mom catches up, and then he goes...
He goes in front of her, and she catches up again.
Almost like leapfrog or something, only they're not doing the jumping,
Yeah, well, it's cute, and Carl sees this, and he thinks it's cute. Another scene that happens along the way here is back in the Double R Diner. We see our favorite German waitress, Heidi, again, now aged. 25 years.
Conversing with the local school teacher, Miriam.
And giggling.
And giggling.
And Miriam's going on about the pie.
Yeah, this is such a sweet scene.
It is really nice.
Wholesome. She's really loving the pie she's got. She loves the service, and she's just offering tons of compliments to the waitresses and to Norma for her place,
Right, and after she leaves, they make some comment about her not being able to afford that big of a tip, and maybe we'll treat her next time. And it's just really a sweet scene. And it's nice to see Heidi again. I was kind of surprised to see Heidi again, almost. But because, right, as we talked about in our first podcast, I think, she showed up in the pilot of the original Twin Peaks. And then she showed up again in the finale of season 2. She wasn't a running character, though. Most distinctive character trait is this adorable giggle.
Yeah. And
we're getting a revisit of that. So apparently she's been at the Double R the whole time.
And as is often the case with Twin Peaks, if you're in a scene where there is just a golden moment of joy,
Yeah.
and wonder, and everybody's respecting each other and love. It's probably going to be followed by something that's to contrast that. And that's what we get here, right? So,
tragedy.
An extreme tragedy, and also the build-up through the parallel perspective that's happening with Richard Horne driving the truck, having left his meeting with Red.
Right. So as he's driving, he's freaking out. He's like, kid.
Yeah.
Kid.
He's pissed that he's called him a
stupid
kid.
magic motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that line. There's just he's sort of flipping out. But again, thinking about that scene, you can sort of understand this, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So he's sort of speeding down the road, and we cut between that to Carl Rod, the mother playing the game with her kid, and Miriam Diner, right? And we start cutting back and forth between these different perspectives. I kind of thought what happened here was fairly telegraphed. Did you sort of see it coming?
Yes. Yeah, I think intentionally they're leading you into what's about to happen. Yeah. And they're giving you more or less 4 different perspectives from which to see it. Yeah. So we have Miriam leaving the diner. Yeah. We have Richard Horne driving the truck. Yeah. We have Carl Rod sitting and witnessing it all from his aged perspective. And then we have the mother who's witnessing playing with her child. Mm-hmm. This also all occurs at a very famous and significant intersection in Twin Peaks.
Right. This is the same intersection as in the scene in Fire Walk with Me, when the one-armed man pulls up around with Leland and Laura in the car, right? When he holds the ring out on his pinky finger,
and he says,
yells,
"It was
you
your
stole
father.
The corn.
You stole the corn. It was your father.
It's him.
And
of course, your father." And it smells like something's burning. That whole scene. This is the same intersection.
What makes that scene really intense, also, and also I'm just remembering and triggering a thought, is that Leland is revving the engine and honking the horn, both trying to silence him. He doesn't want Laura to hear what this guy's saying. But the thing that I'm realizing right now that I never thought before is that the revving of the engine while the brakes are on, constantly doing that, maybe is what scorched the engine oil. That is scorched engine oil that they're smelling in that moment.
Well, there's some kind of parallel there, And a parallel to Richard here, who's revving up, and, he's coming up on this 4-way stop and, decides, fuck this, I'm not going to wait in line behind 4 cars or whatever it would have been.
Well, he's also coming up behind a rig that is hauling timber. Yeah. And in the scene that you mentioned in Fire Walk with Me, Leland is stuck behind a rig that is hauling timber as well. Right. So there's also this big rig carrying cut down trees that's at this intersection in both shots.
And but in particular, right when Richard decides he's going to go over into the wrong lane and speed past these cars, you see it coming.
Yeah. Right. So the mother's little boy runs out in one of these catch-up chase games.
On the Heartbreaker, the truck at the front of the line here waves him across.
Waves him in, saying, "I'll wait for you. Go ahead."
So you know what's coming. Yeah. But, man, what was really striking to me was how they just don't cut away.
Yeah, he showed you the whole thing. And so you end up seeing the little boy run over by Richard Horne. Richard Horne goes through it and is pissed off at the little boy for being there.
Right. He just keeps going. I told you to get out of the way.
And in that shot, we see that Miriam gets a very clear look and sees. Miriam witnesses and knows that it was Richard that did this.
Exactly. And, thinking about the prominence of the Horne family and so on, I think there's every chance that she knows who he is.
Yeah. Additionally, Carl Rod has just witnessed this whole thing after sitting in a nice peaceful moment in wonderment looking up at the trees.
Right, and a couple of things about that. Carl seems to see the soul of the little boy.
Yeah, there's like a light or the soul of the little boy rising up and ascending after he's dead. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a jump it is to soul. I mean, it's something. Mm-hmm. And then that is quickly followed with a shot of this electrical pole, which is the very same pole, or at least has the same numbers on it, as in Fire Walk with Me.
It looks like the exact same pole to me. It has the transformer at the top, and it's carrying electrical waves. It has the numbers 324810.
And the 6.
And a big, larger font 6 underneath that.
Right, so definitely the numbers are distinctive and the same. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of odd because it seemed like, in Fire Walk with Me, it seemed like that pole was in the trailer park in Deer Meadow. But I don't know. It could be Carl remembering that.
Well, this might all speak to some strange interdimensional rift thing happening where maybe they are in the same spot. Maybe Deer Meadow is inside Twin Peaks.
It's been
but
somehow
in another
folded
dimension.
into Twin Peaks
Yeah.
somehow.
So
yeah.
that intersection is also the trailer park, is also the Black Lodge, is also the White Lodge.
I don't know, but
of
it's
course, that's
there.
speculation.
Yeah, I don't
In a
know if we'll
major way,
ever
but-
get enough to warrant
Yeah.
such a theory, but there's definitely a connection here. You're getting that image again. This is the same image we saw when Chet Desmond disappeared.
And the
so-
sound of the
and
electrical.
the electrical crackling.
This
Yeah.
crackling, which, jumping back to the beginning when the giant tells us to listen, and we hear the sound from the phonograph at the very beginning of the return, who knows what it is, but anytime I hear the electrical crackling, I do think back to that, because it was a little bit of a kind of a crackling, popping
Yeah,
sound.
for
The
sure.
other thing that happens in this scene is after Carl sees the light, he does walk over and kind of try to comfort the mother who's there,
Yes.
and she looks from... There's this tearing, and she's looking down at her dead son's body,
Mm-hmm.
and she looks up into Carl's face, and somehow I feel like there was definitely some comfort given there. He's distracting her from looking at a dead body. Look up at my face, look into life, or something. is
and I
happening
also
there.
wanted to talk briefly about the music here. This is Angelo Badalamenti original work. Maybe the most prominent such thing we've gotten to this point in the new run. And I think it really adds a whole lot to the scene. The scene overall, I mean, plays out for so long with all of the reaction shots and of all the people who saw this hugging each other and the music. I felt like it almost went from, really sad to really, really sad to really sad, and started turning a corner towards the absurd and then went back to sad.
Right.
Does that
Yeah,
seem
I could see
kind of
that.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I also read online, I didn't notice this myself at first, but if you go back to episode 5, in that scene where Dougie was looking at Sonny Jim in the car and kind of crying, there's a play on this same kind of motif, much more subtle play of the music there. Seems like the same kind of music we're now seeing here in episode 6. So this is the sort of full ramped up version. They'd previously used this more kind of dialed back version in episode 5, if you go back to that.
Well, that's interesting because in the scene, of course, at the intersection is the death of a child.
Exactly. So what might this portend for Sonny
Yes,
Jim? I
exactly.
guess. I don't know.
But that was really it's a heartbreaking scene. You see the whole thing happen, and just a sense of the mother loving being a mother so much.
Yeah.
Where they take the time to like show you ahead of time how much she loves being his mother.
Heartbreaking.
It's totally heartbreaking. Yeah. And so this is followed up by another scene that brings us back to kind of the possible criminal element. We go from the forest and Twin Peaks and this local small town intersection back to Vegas, back to the office of this character Duncan, right?
Mr. Todd, yeah.
Mr. Todd, Duncan Todd.
And he gets some weird message on his computer, which is just, like a red box?
Yeah, again, like
Red square?
somehow encrypted code information. If a red box appears on your laptop, you better watch out. Or,
That means go to the safe and take out the envelope with
Yeah.
a dot on it.
apparently.
and note, he's very careful to make sure he doesn't get his fingerprints on it.
Yeah, exactly. He pulls out a handkerchief and pulls the file out with a handkerchief. And if he's being careful not to get his prints on it here, that begs the question, how it was handed over, who put it in the safe, etc.
Right.
He's just being very careful then as well, I guess. But so he doesn't touch the file, and he sits back at his desk. He hits enter on the red box,
Yeah.
and here's this file.
And proceeds along with his day, I guess. And where this connects to is to ultimately you see Ike the Spike is the character's name.
Ike the Spike.
Gets what I think is the same envelope. That's how I read this.
Yeah, I did too. Like the same envelope is slid under his door,
Yeah.
and
Got the dot on
a
it.
couple interesting things. Let's talk about the Ike the Spike scene now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So before he gets the envelope, we see what appears to be maybe an average day for Ike the Spike sitting at a table rolling dice.
Well, but it's more than that. The most interesting thing to me about this scene is that he's taking notes.
Yeah,
Did you
he's
notice
rolling
this?
dice and he's taking notes on all the outcomes.
Like he's trying to check if it's really random. That was
Yes,
my thought.
Right. That I think so too. It's a statistical analysis of your one's will toward being able to make dice turn, or or he's looking for a pattern maybe.
Yeah.
He's also sitting there with half a bottle of Bullet, sitting in front of a mirror, and so there's this duality, the mirror world kind of thing that's suggested. The file slips under his door. He picks it up, and he pulls it out, and he's 2 pictures in there, one of Lorraine and one of Dougie.
Right, and so if you go back to the Mr. Todd scene, did he already have an envelope in his safe with the pictures of the 2 of them in it? That just seems very odd.
Yeah, that's why I'm wondering, is that safe updated often, or
what? But it seems clear, so Ike the Spike is now to kill both of them, right? He stabs their photos, so it's pretty clear that this is like the game here. And so back to who wants Dougie dead. Apparently they want Dougie dead bad enough that because Lorraine has failed in her job to make sure Dougie's dead, now they want Lorraine dead. That was how I read it anyway. So they want him dead a lot.
Yeah, I read it that way too. Yeah. She has failed to take care of the problem. Now she's part of the problem too.
Yeah.
Right. So in that scene, we see him stabbing the pics. We also, the pic that he has, we see has kind of like a custom handle on it. It seems like it's more, and then by the end of the episode, you see in the credits that his name is Ike the Spike.
Right.
So we know that this is part of his shtick, is he uses a spike, right?
And that scene where he does kill Lorraine, too, is just brutal.
Yeah. So this is very, very brutal. And the idea that somebody is shorter like that is running at you, and, you know, your defense it's almost like at first you would think maybe a child is running in the room or something, but the way he runs in and she kind of doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And he just kind of jumps on her and starts stabbing her.
He just kills the shit out of her.
He does kill the shit
He seems
out
to
of her,
enjoy it. The blood everywhere.
He's moving the spike around inside of her chest cavity.
Right
just
in
to
the
make
line
sure,
of camp.
Right.
And someone else sees him, so he runs after and kills her too.
Kills her.
She saw him.
You hear that murder.
Yeah.
And it sounds really bad. You can actually, because he comes back around the corner and you see his spike has been bent.
Yeah, and he's
sad
about
it. And
that little sigh he gives.
He says, "Oh no."
Yeah,
and so this is what he cares about, is his murder weapon.
Weirdly adorable.
Yeah,
it's just
softer
kind of
voice than you would
scene.
expect.
Yeah.
But if you see that scene again, or if you think about the audio during it, you can hear the stabbing into like what a Foley artist would be punching meat or whatever.
Yeah.
You also you can hear the spike hit a hard surface.
Yeah.
And if he's stabbing, it's pretty graphic, just the sound of it. He's stabbing her so hard he stabs through her into the floor and damages his weapon on the floor through her body, is what I was picturing.
Yeah.
And to come around the corner, your spike is bent, like, that's pretty horrific. And then to go from that to this cute, like, oh no moment where, so you get the idea that this is his modus operandi. You get the idea that this is maybe an enchanted weapon, something that's his weapon, his personality, his persona itself is based on this spike.
Or at least it's the source of his nickname.
Right.
Yeah. So one more big thing we need to be sure to hit here in part 6 is Hawk finds what's missing.
Yes.
And the way that he finds what's missing is related to his heritage. How?
Well, he drops a coin as he's in the restroom.
It's a buffalo nickel, right?
And it's a buffalo nickel. And then the coin actually lands. It's not so much that it's the buffalo nickel, but it lands near the manufacturing stamp of the company that made the bathroom stall doors.
Right.
And it says Nez Perce on it.
Indeed.
So here's a link to not only the local indigenous American Indians that were living there, but specifically Hawk's people, from where he comes.
Right. So he looks up from that and notices, right, that the corner of the stall door is like missing a screw or something like that.
A little bent.
And so he starts prying that thing off, right? And of course, in the middle of this, Chad comes in. He's like, "Get out of here, Chad. Use the ladies."
Yeah.
Because Chad's not having it, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't understand why in the world you could possibly be doing this.
Yeah, and Chad also comes in with his coffee and a magazine or something. Like he's planning to be in that stall for a little while.
Yeah, he was going to use that stall, yeah. But ultimately, Hawk pulls all this metal back and finds inside the bathroom stall door a few pieces of paper. Right. Small, sort of torn pieces of paper. And that's where we're left really here at the end of part 6.
And so there's plenty of speculation as to what these papers are.
Right.
But if you see pages like that, you can't help but think of the missing pages from Laura's diary.
Right, indeed. I mean, and Recall and Fire Walk With Me, the boy whispers to Laura at one point, the man behind the mask, he's looking for the book with the pages torn out.
So there's another scene here that just shows how badass and how in love with Janie E I am.
Yeah, me too.
Right. So we cut to the park at noon
Tough
30.
dame.
Right. She comes to meet these guys that are the debtors that they owe money from gambling losses to.
Right, or the loan sharks or what have you,
Right.
right? So she asks, why does he owe this money? It's because he borrowed it to make a bet that he lost, and now interest is accumulating on that.
Yeah, they say that he borrowed originally $20,000 and now it's at $50,000.
Clock's still running.
Clock's still running. And so Janie E explains, first of all, she makes a couple comments about how she's part of the 99%.
Yeah.
And she's furious, and she's like, this is too much of a markup.
We drive used cars and all of that.
And how 25% interest to her seems fair, so she's offering to give them $25K, which she has counted out and in a giant roll of money that she pulls out.
I think she
already.
says something like, this is my first, final, and only offer.
Yeah.
She's such a badass throughout the whole thing.
And it's hilarious. One of the guys says, nevertheless, where he tries to continue to intimidate, but she interrupts him.
Yeah.
And they don't have the wherewithal to counter her
they don't
power,
know what to
basically.
do
Yeah.
in response to how confident and assertive she is here. And I love the whole thing. I'm loving Janie E. I'm loving Naomi Watts' performance here.
Naomi Watts is amazing. So good.
But it's also maybe noteworthy that, she's going on about them not being able to afford that kind of money when we know at the same time she's got $400,000 more that she's hidden somewhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But she's still insistent, right? And she mentions her bank. It seemed to me like she works at a bank, perhaps. I don't know if that's definitive, but that's kind of how I read this. And the interest that you would get there, right? And so she says, well, I'm giving you 25% interest. That would make, any bank customer, really happy. Deal with it, take it. We're done. I never want to see you again.
Yeah. And they just fold. They're basically, their thought is, well, we got $25,000 now and she's gone, so deal done, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Another
thing this reminds me of is I seem to remember during the part when she finds out that Dougie brings home this money.
Yeah.
In her excitement, I think, if I'm not mistaken, she says some line of along the lines of, "Oh, you know what? We could," and then doesn't finish the thought.
Oh.
Where she's excited about what they could finally do with the money, and you think, what does that mean? You can pay for Sonny Jim's surgery or what? That was my first thought. What is that thing that you didn't get to that you were so excited about what you could do now that there's the money?
Oh.
Does it mean anything? It might not, but...
That's interesting. I might revisit that because I kind of thought in that first scene even that she was indicating that they would be able to pay back this debt that she already knew about at that point. But maybe there was something else there.
Okay, so then we get one more scene in the sheriff's office as well for this episode. In the sheriff's office, we get the scene with Doris and Frank, right? So we've seen this before.
Yeah.
Only this time we get Chad, whom we now know is basically taking money from Richard Horn.
Right.
And is not just an insulting character, but is not doing his job and in fact is, kind of double-crossing the sheriff's department.
Right. So Doris is mad because her dad's car wasn't actually fixed here. All right. And I think Frank suggests maybe the parking brake was on, and she's like, "You think my dad can't drive a car?" and so on. And then what does Chad say after they leave the room?
Well, Chad says something along the lines of, I would never take that shit.
Right.
And of course, the one of the other officers that's in there that's doing dispatch, who's posed to take emergency calls,
right,
takes the time to say to him like, "Oh, well, you don't know what the hell you're talking about," basically. And she points out that you didn't know that her son committed suicide.
But Chad says, "I heard of something about that. He couldn't take being a soldier."
Yeah, he's like mocking, and he says,
with
boo-hoo.
his,
Even.
boo-hoo with
I
his,
couldn't
hands
stand being a
by his
soldier.
eyes.
And so this is an incredibly callous statement.
Right, he's mocking some veteran for committing suicide.
Yeah, and so we don't know if this is post-traumatic stress disorder. We don't know if this is a soldier that even made it back home to Frank and Doris. We don't know.
We don't know for sure,
but it really makes us understand now, first of all, why Doris has this kind of attitude, can't control her anger, that she has these other issues that are going on other than the bucket and the leak and the possible black mold,
Yeah.
And also this gives us really kind of a heart-wrenching look into the character of Frank.
Yeah, there's real tragedy in the background here.
And then, for example, now that we've learned this, think back to Frank sitting there looking at the son of Andy and Lucy, talking about how he's a wild one and his dharma is the road.
Yeah.
And he's kind of rolling his eyes at that or whatever. But at the same time, we didn't know when we first saw that scene that Frank had a son as well.
Right.
But cannot get a visit from his son, cannot have his son move out of the house so that he can turn it into an office or whatever.
His son doesn't have the chance to, explore the West like the first Caucasians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, again, another reference to Meriwether Lewis, right?
Right.
But it is very interesting that there is this kind of retroactive exposition of character going on throughout the series. We're like,
it's very cool.
Oh, yeah, now that we know this, think about the previous scene that we saw.
And we're kind of just deepening our sense of Chad as an asshole, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But this happens in other places. I mean, after the scene with Red and Richard, I had that thought, too, like, oh, now that I know this about Red, think back to that scene where he's pointing his finger gun to Shelley.
Yeah, absolutely, because in that scene with Richard, he does both hands.
Yes.
Finger, and there it's intimidating.
Right. You ever study your hand, you know? So I think...
Right around when he's talking about eating his brains.
Right, yeah. So I think it's something to keep in mind is as you discover new things about characters, go back and think for a second what you've seen from that character already.
Yeah, definitely this is a series that rewards rewatching. Mm-hmm. Even as we go here, I'm really struck by how much I'm getting out of rewatching some of these episodes.
Yes, definitely.
And preparing to have these conversations and really enjoying it.
Mm-hmm. And so... as we have seen in the past, episode 6 does end in the Roadhouse with a musical performance.
Yep.
This one is really swanky. Was it Sharon Van Etten?
Yeah, and this was, talking about paying attention to the lyrics and so on in these songs. This one was maybe the first one that stuck out to me and made me go back to some of the other ones.
We have the reference to the number 7.
And that was the first thing. Because we've been tracking all of these 7s.
Yes.
Right? He works at Lucky 7 Insurance. There are 7 sort of all over the place. Maybe we haven't talked about it all that much here on the podcast because I don't know if we know exactly what to do with it.
Well, let's list a couple more of them. You mentioned before on our last podcast there's 7 question marks.
7 question marks
for the Giants
to name
character
the
name.
Giants character.
We know the hotel room number 7 is the room that Mr. C kills Daria in.
Yes.
And in fact talks to possibly Philip Jeffries.
Or Philip or
whomever
who knows,
that
or
turns
not
out to
Jeffries.
Be. Yeah.
Yeah. And there are a number of 7s.
Yeah, the Lucky 7 Insurance is on the 7th floor of the building that he has to take the elevator to 7. We know that.
Yeah, we see, it's sort of the same 7, but Dougie sort of caresses the 7 on the case files.
And looking for 7s, I remember the coffee that's delivered by Tracy early on.
I thought those were 7s.
I thought those were 7s. Looking a little closer, it seems to be a large Z.
Yeah.
So that whatever coffee company is a Z, but... nonetheless, as she was holding it, it did look like a 7.
Yeah, but
now we're in numerological...
Yeah, now we're going down a rabbit hole here where we don't necessarily have an interpretation. We're just saying, oh, look, another 7.
Yeah.
Jacoby's radio show starts at 7 o'clock.
Oh, there you go.
You know where your freedom is.
Yeah.
So in the lyrics to this song, Tarifa, you do get that line, I wish it was 7. I wish it was 7 all night.
Slow it was 7.
Slow it was 7.
And then, yep. But what you said
I
too.
wish it was 7 all night. Yeah.
And of course, this is the end of episode 6, leading into episode 7.
Right.
As well.
That too.
That's interesting.
One of the other big lines in this song was send in the owl. Tell me I am not a child. Right. So the owl as a symbol in the Twin Peaks universe, of course, is huge to think about owls. And I really did enjoy this song, I have to say. And again, paying attention to the lyrics in these things, not going to give you some kind of secret key to unlocking all of the mysteries, but there do certainly seem to be some resonances here.
Yeah. It'll be interesting once we get to the whole thing to collect all of them and cut them all out on different pieces of paper and then reassemble them and see what he's trying to tell me.
I have a file. The one night I kind of went down this, path, and I pulled up the lyrics to each song in their entirety, and I started pasting them into this file, so I could like just read them like a poem. And I have to say, right, it didn't take me anywhere, right? It didn't take me it didn't take me anywhere to where I could say like, aha, now I figured some big thing out. But it did really call my attention to some of the thematic resonances that are at play here, really with each of the songs. So.
Yeah, I think everyone that I've been conscious to as I've been watching it, there's been one phrase in that song that has totally applied.
Yeah, at least one. Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us, everybody. I want to thank you, Caemeron. It's always fun sitting and talking about all this stuff.
Yeah, Mike, I enjoyed it immensely.
Very cool.
Thanks for taking the time.